Hello, everybody. Welcome to the newly officially named show Trace Route Tales. I'm Adrienne Tucka. Yes, we are a little bit late, but we were sorting out some technical difficulties, but we made it. That's the most important part. I'm really, really excited to have what I would think is a fan favorite here in the DevNet community. I'm here with Jason Gooley. Hello, Jason.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much for being willing to join this show. You are episode number 2, so take that for what it is. And yeah, we are going to get started. We're going to get right into it. So, the first question that I want to ask you, Jason, because I'm sure everybody knows you, is Jason, what initially drew you to teaching other network professionals?
Wow. I'd have to say the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that not a lot of people were out there to help me. When we first got started in this industry, there wasn't a whole lot of books and training available back in the day, and it felt like a lot of times you're off on your own. And I think that made me feel like I need to do better about helping others. And I actually worked with a gentleman named Vince Baldacchi, who's a really great friend of mine at Empire, one of my former companies that I worked for. And he really had a knack for wanting to do stuff network related and with Cisco, and he was on the help desk. And I was fortunate enough to be able to bring him into the networking team and train him and work with him every day. And when I left there, I actually was able to make him senior network engineer before I left. And I realized during that process that if you just take a little bit of time to help others, not only does it come back to you, but then it makes your job in life a little bit easier because you have other folks who are capable of doing the things that you were showing them. So that was initially why I got into it. Is not a lot of folks wanted to show me, and I wanted to change that a little bit.
I really, really like that. I think a lot of folks, I don't hear that often. That's why I really, really like that. And I always like the stories of those who are like, I wanted to be that person that I needed during my time. And usually that's a very, very good motivator for that. With that, what would you say is your like teaching style? Can you describe the evolution of what that was like? Because I know as a someone who kind of teaches myself in the form of talks or blogs and stuff like that, I know my style has definitely changed from when I started to now. So I'd love to hear what you feel like your evolution is in this time or the style of your teaching.
Yeah, honestly, it has evolved quite a bit. I think originally it started off where I was just trying to get information and disseminate it to somebody else, right? And when you do that a few times and you start really tuning into what the audience is looking for, and basically I go back to realizing that it's mostly just being genuine and talking to them like they're just another person in the room and making them feel included because the biggest thing is telling stories that relate to whoever it is you're trying to teach to. So saying something in their words to them. So if they're a medical professional and they work in healthcare, being able to understand what clinicians do in a hospital, nurses, and all these other things, having the conversation with them in terms that they would understand, meeting them there, I think is the number one thing. And then ultimately just realizing that we're all here to just be better and taking the ego out of it. I've seen a lot of teachers and instructors. Sometimes they make you feel a little bad when you're not getting it, and I don't think that that's the right way to motivate someone because I had that a lot growing up. You didn't do something good, and so now you not only did you not do good, you get ridiculed. You almost get made fun of in a way in a public forum, and then you feel also kind of like you got backhanded a little bit, and then you slip backwards from your learning career. So hopefully that makes sense. I think that was one of the biggest things for me.
I really can relate to that. Anytime you're learning something, especially anything in the tech, I'll just say more generally tech world, whether that's software development or network automation or programmability, there's a lot to learn, right? So there's going to be times where you feel like you're not getting it. There'll be a lot of hurdles and there will be a lot of need for folks like you who are like, it's all right, it's okay to not get it the first time. It's okay to have someone help you through that rather than just, you're already feeling like crap maybe not getting it, right? So it's not going to help if somebody else is telling you, yeah, you're certainly not getting it. So I really, really
Or if you
appreciate
did.
that. Yeah, right? Nope. It's morale is or yeah, well, I'm not gonna go there. So we're gonna continue on here, and of the all the topics that you have done, is there any that you consider that is the hardest to teach?
I'm going to start with a couple. I'm going to start with MPLS.
Okay.
It became one of the things that I absolutely love teaching, that I became really good at teaching. And I think there's really three. It's MPLS, QoS, and programmability, right? And I think MPLS was one of those ones where you needed to know deep dive routing and switching and how all these different things work, and then you're following these packets. And when you started talking about layer 3 VPN and inserting labels, it was just like a whole nother thing. And it blew my mind. It was very difficult for me to wrap my head around when I first started. It was actually one of my weakest areas, that and QoS. And I think going back to how I teach some of those things now is breaking it down. I always say this, breaking it down into small manageable chunks that you can ingest. When you get into talking about things like a full MPLS layer 3 VPN network, right? Kind of what service providers run and all this sort of thing in large enterprises. If you think about it from that perspective, I think there's a lot of things you can build up to it, right? Start with, what is a VRF? What does that even do? You're segmenting a router into a virtual router, and then you're separating, separate lanes on a highway to take your data into a separate path, and then you talk about labels, and if you just start like that all the way across, it makes it so much less daunting, right? Programmability, I'm gonna pick on it. Obviously, this is something I talk about quite a lot. I still don't consider myself an expert at it. A lot of the folks on your team are, for sure. But at the same time, I think one of those things is it's the mindset change, understanding how you've been doing something for a really long time, logging into a router, going to the command line, config T, all of this stuff. And API, it's the exact same concept, right? And you're logging into a device to get it to do something via software somehow, right? And most of the time, they might not have a direct comparison with APIs and the things you can do on a command line fully yet. On some places, some do. That understanding that it's the same thing, you're just going at it from a different angle or a different avenue, really does take a lot of the fear out of it. I think that's, you're going back to what you mentioned, one of the ones the hardest to teach. Programmability is often difficult because when you talk to folks, they're not software developers a lot of the times. I don't consider myself to be. I'm more of a network developer, right? The idea where you can make the network sing and dance, doing things any way you want it to, just like you could in the command line, but just from a different approach via API. And I think that does help. Just easing people along the path instead of throwing them right into the ocean. Hopefully that makes sense. Long-winded.
No, that does. I agree with you. My background is in software development. And so I remember when I first started learning front end development specifically, and that seemed overwhelming. You needed to know how to, for example, with JavaScript, you needed to, know what a transpiler was, and you had to transpile JavaScript so that it would work on the browser. And then you needed to know browser quirks. And there are all these little different things. And then I look at what web development looks like today. I'm like, I feel really, really, I feel for those who are starting out today. So again, it really takes that chunked approach that you talked about, because if you just kind of put that all on yourself to say, I need to learn all of this in like a weekend, that you're going to really just overwhelm yourself. And I don't think that's setting yourself up for success. Really taking that chunked approach, I very much agree with.
Yes.
We have, yeah, pretty much. We have a question here from the chat, and it's from Verlaine. And let's get it on the screen here. It says, "How do you adapt in a changing digital society when you write Cisco Press books? Are you afraid of tech trends?" It's a good question.
First off, I want to shout out to Verlaine. And for everybody out there who doesn't know who he is, he'll be sitting in this chair one day.
I agree.
Verlaine, we haven't officially met yet, but hello. Awesome question. I honestly believe you'll be a Cisco Press author sooner than you think, and reach out to me because I want to see if I can maybe help you with that. The question, how to adapt in a changing digital society. It's ever changing, and I think that's part of the other thing about even taking over doing some of the CCNA stuff with Wendell and kind of that whole transition and learning what the different levels are and what folks consume and how they consume it has totally changed. A lot of things via streaming video courses via O'Reilly and stuff like that, instead of going through an actual boot camp or sitting in a class. And books, yes, become a lot more digital these days, but I know still a lot of folks are those, page turner type folks. I know I am. The thing is, you're competing with the attention span is what I'm looking for, of everybody today, and so is your phone, so is all the beeping things around your house, whatever it may be. You have to try to grab their attention in a way that's super fast, right to the point, and not waste time. And I think that goes back to the how do we change, how do we adopt or evolve our teaching style, ever changing teaching style, I should say, because the people learn in different ways now, right? If I'm on a train and I got 3 hours, maybe I'll watch some videos. But if I don't have that time and I need some quick hit information, excuse me, you can do that right from a phone. So I think it's just understanding how learners are learning and meeting them where they want to be and giving them all the different options. Very much like Wendell's doing with the YouTube channel stuff right now to correlate with the books. So, good question.
I agree. I really, really, really like that. Let's get this on here. There we go. And that actually really segues well into the next question that we have here is you've pretty much done it all. You've done like books, you have blogs, you have talks, you have exam and certification development experience, meaning you're directly involved in that. What's the most difficult thing to get right? So we're talking about meeting people where they are, talking to them in a language that they understand, grabbing their attention span because that's so much smaller nowadays. In your opinion, of all the different types of resources to create, what is the most difficult thing to do right, in your experience?
I take a twist with this one. Inspiring others.
Mm, I would agree.
Because it threads through all of that, right?
Yeah.
I'm writing a book because I'm trying to help someone. I'm writing a blog because I'm trying to disseminate some information or inspire somebody to want to go and do something, right? My daughter wrote a blog, says she wanted to work at Cisco one day, be an engineer like daddy, and all this stuff, right? So, you think about that, you want to inspire, it's not even the next generation. There are folks entering this realm who are older than me who want to learn this stuff, right? So it's just inspiring somebody to want to take action is, I think, the hardest part, because that goes through exams. I'm developing a certification because we want somebody to eventually go take the certification and better themselves and build a life that they're proud of and move to wherever it is that they want to be, instead of being where they're at and they don't feel like that they can succeed, right? So that talks, right? Cisco Live, wherever it may be, all these different talks, you're trying to engage with someone, a lot of someone's at the same time. And I think a lot of times, making sure you didn't cook any brains or underemphasize something where, it's taken as like something that's just a brush off, real easy topic or something. You need to really be in there and understanding your audience to make sure that they know what it is you're saying, or at least you can see the light bulb, so to speak. So I think inspiring other people to want to do something, seeing them leaning forward in their seat when they're listening or when they're turning pages. All the posts I get of folks reading our books, like studying on a beach somewhere in Paris, France, or something like that, just lights me up. So I think that's the hardest thing to do, is inspire others to take value of what it is we're doing.
I completely agree with that. That's actually an answer I wasn't expecting. So, see, this is why you're the godfather. But
I don't even. I just kind of fly with these things because I think that's the best way to do it. Is just be raw.
yeah. No, I really, really like that. I think the intent with when I wrote this question was like, which of those things was the hardest to do as an educator? And you completely blew that question out of the water. I agree. Anybody, especially with AI nowadays, anybody can create an educational resource, right? You can create a blog, you can create even books nowadays, which is kind of scary. You can, we're getting closer and closer to possibly even having fully AI generated video courses. So I think that's what's going to stick out is, are you able to make someone do something? Are you able to inspire them to action, to actually go to the next step or go forward in their path and continue learning? The inspiration part, especially with conference talks, I totally agree, is one of the hardest things. We have another question here. And by the way, Verlaine says, thank you to the Godfather there. Thank you, Verlaine, for joining us and having that great question. We have another question here from Josh. So we have another one here. Can't fit on the screen, but I'll read the entire thing. It is, in the context of the rapidly evolving landscape of network programmability domain, how do you foresee the integration of AI and machine learning shaping the future of network automation and management? Specifically, what potential opportunities and challenges do you envision, and how should network engineers adapt their skills to stay ahead? So, AI is basically going to come into this. What should we look out for in terms of how we're learning all of this? I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Josh.
That's a great question, Josh. I think there are two pieces to that. One, we're already getting there if it's not there already. We're wholeheartedly going to see AI creating code probably for us as the first step prior to developers sitting there and kind of doing it on their own anymore. I think you know what I'm talking about, right? At some point, they're going to be like, I just need a Python script to be able to log into a campus, Catalyst Center or whatever it may be, to do whatever. It's going to be to the point where, like, basically, here's your code, right? And because the better we get with our prompts, the better code we're going to get back to do specifically what it is we want it to do. And I think that, it's funny, I got a picture of John Capobianco sitting, a little sticker he gave me sitting on my laptop thing down here. So I look at him and I'm thinking AI. Here, I'm talking about AI, right? But the idea there is that we'll get better at asking it for what we really need, and it will learn. It'll get better, right? Here's the problem with that, right? I mentioned we're all network developers at this point, right? But AI just came and basically made everybody good at coding, or as good as AI can be at coding, right? Or as good as you're asking AI to be at coding.
Exactly.
So what do you have to do from a skill set perspective? You still have to learn it. You still have to know how it works. You still have to know what you're blowing up. And I'll say it here on record again for the 9,000th time. You can automate failure just as fast as you can automate success.
Yes.
Okay. So that means you need to know what it's doing under the hood while you're doing it. However, now, going back to Josh's question, is going to be, now you have to set yourself apart from the people who know how to ask AI good questions. So now you have to do something to make yourself that much more marketable, be the best at asking AI questions, or the fastest, or whatever it is, right? You have to get that little oomph, right, to make yourself stand aside from everybody else. And in a world where the bar just got much lower for the barrier to entry for getting into IT, getting into networking, I'm working on the CCST video course. That's starting off like, what is a monitor? What is a motherboard? What is RAM? How do you put RAM in? It's where I started. I got my A+ certification and everything. So it's changed quite a bit. And I think that we're going to get to the point where we're going to have to figure out what value add we bring to the table up above and beyond, just what AI can do. So long-winded, but I hope that makes sense.
I can't agree with that so much, like, especially as a developer. Anybody really that's using AI tools to help you, it cannot be said enough. Like, you still need to understand what it's generating. You need to check it. There are so many things that are wrong with what's being generated that you need to know that. So yes, it can definitely augment our workflow. It can definitely make it faster, but you still need that human judgment in there to make sure it's correct. Otherwise, you might have, I don't know, you might bring down the entire world like today with CrowdStrike.
Instead of a cons hello world, it'll be goodbye world. No.
Pretty much.
Well, I mean, you think about it, right? It's like you have the ability to copy and paste something right from the prompt, and I have looked through and seen that it has given you incorrect information. So always validate before you paste. If you do paste it into the test lab, not into production. Put it in the CR, change control.
Very much. And hi, Stephen. I just saw your hello there, But speaking of certs, since you actually mentioned that, are they worth it, Jason? Do we really need so many? As just is there an answer to that? And like a good general answer for that, or is it a depends?
Yeah, I would say they're like Pokemon, and you want to collect them all. Like, you know, going back to that question, right, from Josh, if you don't have the certifications and somebody comes in and does, and they have AI experience and all this other stuff or whatever it is that you're trying to do, they're going to lean towards the person who has the certs, who has the documented experience, to say at some point you have a level set of what we know you know. So I would say certs are very relevant. I don't see they're ever going to really go away. It's gotten to the point where they've pretty much replaced quite a lot of college degrees out there for folks that don't want to go to college and go this path instead. That's what happened to me. I think that just really why you're getting the cert is the biggest thing. If you're doing it to just check a box and you need to do that for work because you need to keep your job, okay. But if you're doing it because you really want to value something and get something out of it, search for the ones that you really love. And now with the redo of all the certifications and being able to choose your own destiny and pick, an EN core and then some specialization in SD-WAN or collaboration or whatever it is, really you can make your own portfolio of you by just focusing on the certifications that will be relevant to you and what you do.
That makes sense. But certifications do evolve quickly, though. You yourself have seen how the CCNA has changed. Can you tell us more about it, specifically the evolution from where it started to where it is now?
Oh my gosh. I think I took my CCNA in 97 or 98, I think. It was one of those years, 97 or 98. When I took it, it was one exam. Way back, it was just one exam, and you had these like cool bars that would print out and tell you how well you did. And by the grace of God, I passed the first time I took it. And when I did that, it was like that was my bar to measure that I was going to be able to do networking as a career and to just go down that path. I had to get that NA. What has been on that NA has evolved considerably over the years. I remember when there was less talk about OSI models and that, and more talk about command line, and now there's design, there's programmability, there's understanding automation, what all these different pieces mean. I think that, yeah, I see Steven said he got a CCNA back 2014. I think that what you'll see is Cisco does a really good job of following what is necessary for these certifications. An even better job, I would say now, since 2020, since we revamped everything, right? I mean, it's gotten to the point where it is so aligned and in tune with what the customers are going through and what the customers are seeing in their environments that I think you pretty much can't go wrong as long as you understand the fundamental basics. That's the one thing I say that's changed a lot over the years is some of the fundamentals of what is fundamental has changed a little bit because it's gotten broader. So definitely worth it. Go for it. Version 1.1 is out. I think you can test August 20th is the first time you can test, I believe. So hopefully you're all on deck for that.
I like that answer. It's certifications has always been a thing in networking and security. We have some too in software development, but it's like there's not so many. So it's like you choose your path, right? Kind of like you're starting Pokemon. Are you going to do AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud? And like everybody goes to AWS, right? So yeah, I agree. I think they certainly prove their value if you are wanting to do it to expand your knowledge. And I do agree. I think that Cisco does focus on what is important. Um, with so many people, deciding to do certifications, do you have any advice for those who are struggling with their certification journey? It's not easy, and with how many there are and how many tiers there are, I can fully relate to how difficult that may be. Any advice?
Yeah, there's two pieces. I think one is that a lot of the times, the folks, even myself, it happens to me, still happens to me. When you're struggling with something on a certification, it's usually because there's like a pressure that builds, right? There's a stress level component to it. I got to get it for my job. I got to get it for a raise. I got to get it because I need to better my life and move out of where I live. I talked to this person at Cisco Live here just this past June, and I can't remember exactly where they were from, but they were basically saying that the only hope they have to get away from where they're at is to pretty much get a certification, which is what they love, and try to move out of the country, you know? So I think the stress component of it makes things a little bit too real. Mental health is a big thing that you have to think about. Sitting in a basement in a room constantly 24 hours a day can wear on you. So my advice would be, going back to the small manageable chunks, work on something for a little bit of time, force yourself to get up, set a timer to get up and go outside or something, or just get out of there, right? And give yourself a nice half hour to an hour break, right? Get out of there, change your mindset. And the reason being is you won't realize what's passing you by if you're staring like this quite a lot, right? You still have to do that. You still have to do that, otherwise you'll never make it to your destination. But you will get to your destination faster, better, and healthier if you take time for you in the process. That's huge.
I like that. Oh, please. I'm sorry I didn't
Yeah,
cut you off.
yeah. The other thing is that if it's not the stress or mental component to it, there's this is just difficult, right? And that goes back into just try to take the building blocks of what it is and small manageable chunks to build up into some sort of a design of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. But taking time, I think, and giving yourself a little break and giving yourself leniency here and there is something that we don't hear anybody talk about in the journey of certifications or degrees at that point, right? It's go.
I'm very much like a break driven person. Like
Yeah.
if I get through this much, then I reward myself with like a coffee break or
You
a
have to.
cookie break or
Yeah.
something. That's what that's what gets me through.
Yep.
We have a semi-related question again from Verlaine, and is that, do you think network engineering is enough today for network engineers, or do they have to learn new things beyond the field in the AI era?
I think that literally is going to be answered by how much you want to set yourself apart from everybody else who's doing this, right? This kind of
I
goes back to
agree.
that. I honestly believe network engineering is enough. And actually, you know what, Verlaine, great point, because that was a point that I was going to make in the previous question that I'm going to make here. Um, network engineering is enough. It's enough as a career. It's enough for a lifestyle. Every business, pretty much in the world that I know of, anyway, has a network, right? And they're going to need network engineers. So if you think about, I've started to see some folks talking about there's a lot of different CCNAs getting certified. 1,200 got certified in this batch. And if you think about that, right, there will be a lot of certified folks. But if you can think about how many different businesses and organizations there are out in the world, even nonprofits, right, every one of them at some point needs your skill set. You could probably certify quite a lot of people. If you start just naming businesses in your head that you can just randomly think of, you're going to run out of people before you run out of businesses. And I think that's kind of the point, right? Is get certified, get skilled, and then go get a job in one of these facilities or one of these environments. And that will show you that no matter what, you're always going to be needed. It might adapt. Your skill set might change. You need more AI. You might need to have to go do programming. You might have to be an Excel wizard or whatever it may be. But kind of going back to that point, you're really in control of that cart, that destiny, whichever direction you want to go. And if you really want to set yourself aside, do the network engineering, but broaden your skill set a little bit. Because everybody will be hiring a network engineer, but some might say, I want a network engineer with some AI chops, or I want a network engineer who knows collaboration or something to that effect. So just round yourself out enough to know enough about other things. It doesn't mean you have to be an expert at it. And a lot of companies, a lot of jobs, especially at the CCNA level, will hire and then give you experience in lieu of not having the experience. They will give it to you. So I would say try. Also apply to jobs. Even if you think you're never going to get it, apply to the job anyway, because the experience of going through that helps you. There you go.
Great answer. We're getting a couple more questions here. That seems to be a good topic here. And here's one from Alberto. It's more about certs. 20 years of job experience without certifications. How can I catch up with many relevant certs to apply for new jobs?
I see. Well, that's the thing, right? Some folks don't have the 20 years of experience, and I think that alone, that's something that makes you marketable, and somebody's going to want to hire you because of that. That being said, even if you don't go for the certs, you can pick up any one of these books, any one of the any book, right? And still learn that, get the experience with it, go to the DevNet labs, hit all the sandboxes, get your hands-on experience with it. You have 20 years of experience to add to that with the newer things as well. And then it shows very well. I mean, you can at least say that this is something you're working towards. Even if you don't ever want to get the certification, learning some of the things from the certification exams gives you something to say, well, I studied the CCNA, I studied CCNP, I got really good at SD-WAN or routing or programmability or whatever it may be. And putting that together with the 20 years of experience you already have, or anybody has for that matter, those two combinations are pretty priceless. If you can eke out a certification and get one of the ones that you're interested in, then you put those two together, you're just so marketable at that point, because not a lot of folks run around with 20 years of experience doing what we do. And the folks that do, they want to be done, right? I started this mess at 13 years old, which is insane to even think about. It's nuts to even think about that, right? Which means I already got 30 years in. And a lot of the folks who are going through this I'm not even going to say my age, I'm at any age, who have 30 years of in time are typically ready to be done. So if you want to continue going down that path, I think just studying some of the certifications, even if you don't take them, gives you a talking point to any potential employer or make yourself marketable.
Agree with that. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit. You are also the Godfather of Programmability. What is that all about, Jason?
We're going to have to do a deep dive episode on how that all started, because I found a picture finally. So I was going to say way back in the day, I don't remember what year it was. It was quite a long time ago anyway. I was doing a lot with DevNet. I was fortunate to write the first programmability book for Cisco called Programming and Automating Cisco Networks. That became the primer and the quintessential book for the Network Programmability Engineer Specialist exam. Yeah, Network Programmability Engineer Specialist exam. You say that 5 times fast. My gosh. And that was like the first programmability certification through Cisco. And when we started working and partnering with DevNet was just starting to get off the ground. I kind of had the book going. It was just one of those things where the relationship with DevNet just, obviously I'm on here talking with you guys. I love you all, I've worked with you all for so long. And there was a woman named Sylvia Spiva. I don't know if you remember Sylvia. She was doing a lot of the marketing and stuff, comms and all kinds of good things for DevNet. And one day we were at a party in Vegas it was a partner event, and we were standing in this facility, and there was these very large, like 20, 30 foot crushed red velvet curtains, like just red curtains. And I'm standing there and we're waiting to get in. I got the suit, the whole thing. I got my arms like this, and I have Sylvia on one side and my buddy Martin on the other, and they're kind of like acting like my bodyguards. And I'm just standing there with this crushed red velvet. There happens to be a spotlight shining down on my head. And Sylvia just looks at me. She goes, "You look like the Godfather." And I was just like, joking around, kiss my ring, kind of, like the whole, all this stuff, right? And then she just goes, "The Godfather of Programmability." And I'm like, no, right? You hear me on all these different interviews. Like we've got the Stewarts, the Hank Prestons, the Adam Radfords, right? All these folks who know that stuff cold-hearted, right? And she's like, "The Godfather of Programmability." And it stuck, right? And it stuck because of the suit. It all started with the suit thing, because I would always dress up in a suit. And the funny thing is, I never wanted it to be, I'm still subconscious of this, right? And you can tell, right? Just by how red I turn and all this. I never wanted it to be other folks thinking that I came up with this, or I perfected it, or I invented it, or I'm better than anybody, or anything like that. So that was always my weird, hesitance of the hashtag Godfather of Programmability, because I didn't want anybody to think that I'm some, I came up with this whole thing, or to be egocentric or anything. And so then as the time went on, I remember a couple of years ago, before Susie left, I was at Cisco Live in Vegas, and we just did a panel. And Susie was walking with Jerry Elliott, who was one of our executive vice presidents at the time. And Jerry's known for just being high energy, awesome spiky stiletto shoes, just super cool, leather coat. So she comes over like this, larger than life, and with Susie, and she goes, Susie, who's this? She's like, oh, this is the Godfather of Programmability. And I turned 5 sheets of red, like just bright red. And Jerry just looked at me and she just leans in, she goes, own it. And I'm like,
This is who you are now.
It just became me. And the funny thing is, it was all just because of this picture. What became so positive of it was my niche was helping people get started, right? Who are afraid of network programmability and automation, because I didn't know what I was doing when I wrote that book. That was the whole, you hear me say this 1,000 times, right? I had to learn what I had to learn to start writing, to work on this book, to work with DevNet and all this. And just like anybody else, I try to write it and teach it like I learn it, and cut through all we used to say FUD, right? Cut through the FUD and the garbage and just get straight to here's how it works, right? And it's not as daunting as it needs to be. And a lot of times you see a lot of educators out there making things so much more complicated. Here's a topology with 42 routers in it. I could beat you severely with just 2 routers back to back. I can give me 5 routers, and there's probably a pretty good likelihood that I could do a lot of damage as far as education with just 5 routers. It doesn't need to be 90. So maybe that's kind of the whole thing. The Godfather became of education, maybe. Programmability education.
We'll get more titles onto you. You'll start having like a Game of Thrones title, but that
I can barely walk at Cisco Live as it is with the banners.
So we have another question here from the chat that is related here, and it's from Gus, and it's, what is the best way to approach learning programmability nowadays for beginners? Any study strategy, book, or course that you recommend? And that actually is pretty much the next question, so might as well.
Yeah, Gus, dude, how have you been for one? Gus has been always a great supporter, and I love him. I will say that first off, just reach out to me. Just reach out to me.
The Godfather of Programmability.
We have books. We have DevNet Associate books. We have programmability books. But what you'll notice is even in EN Core, CCNA, all of those, any one of those you pick up has a good primer on how to get started with programmability. Even if you've never touched it before, like I would show you, but my monitor is literally sitting on a QBasic book, which was the first foray into programming I ever did when I was like 12 or 13. And just grabbing something and getting started. And Gus, I know, is good with this. Reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. I get thousands of messages on LinkedIn and Twitter and all these different platforms and stuff like that. I reply to them, unless it's something like, you get me a job. Then I might not be able to do anything for you. But outside of that, I love to help. I have resources I can help. I can walk you through things. I have done mentorships and literally just found somebody who really needed help on LinkedIn. They keep messaging me, and I just said, let's just jump on WebEx, which is something that Verlaine's going to be doing soon too, right? So's Gus. But yeah, I think that's it. Just there's no shortage of resources. Go to the DevNet website, developer.cisco.com, log in, and start, because I think that is the best way, because it tracks everything too. It gives you a progress report. Absolutely.
That is a great question. We have another related question here from Christopher. Is, what are the most common blocks for network engineers understanding programmability and how to overcome them? Asking for a friend.
I would say that believe it or not, the most common blocks for network engineering understanding programmability is up here. It's just mental. It's not a difficulty thing. It's a mental thing. It's not easy. Nothing's easy, right? But procedurally, if you followed a couple steps in some of these things I was talking about with the books or the videos or DevNet, you'll get the mechanisms of what you need to do, and then you can just keep repeating it, right? The mental thing about getting into that spot to do programmability is thinking that you have to be a software developer. And I know Adrian's going to punch me in the head, right? But if you think about it, right, you don't have to be a software developer, right? Understanding software development can help, absolutely. But you're not going to go create SAP. You're not going to go create Salesforce. That's not what you're doing this stuff for, right? You're programmatically interacting with a device or a series of devices, a controller even, to make it a little bit more refined and faster and get access to more data at the same time than you would if you did it all individually on a command line. So I think understanding that you don't have to go as deep and learn all these crazy different types of things to be a software developer to be successful as a network developer. So don't let the one discourage you from the other. A lot of it's just mental. And yeah, and I see PTSD from
I was about
the
to
nice piece of equipment that I have sitting behind me, this HP printer that I had for many years.
about to feature that. Gus says, thank you. We will reach out. And we actually have one other question here from Josh in two pieces here. I'll show them both. So, fun question. I was just informed that my employer, who has absolutely no automation of any kind, wants me to develop an automation strategy. I'm a network engineer, but spent the last few years as a desktop developer. Any advice?
All the advice that led up to what I said earlier, for sure, because you have to go to developer.cisco.com. You have to, because I think understanding you have to understand the breadth and how wide that statement that you said could be for you and your company. Because if they said they want you to develop this automation strategy, that can mean a 9 million things. It could be I want it so when I badge in, the lights turn on all the way to my desk and my coffee's hot when I get there, right? To automated print jobs or inventory or sales, different sales type of things using tablets for sales interactions. And there's a million different things that could be. But what I would say is to try to find some of the inefficiencies that you see your business struggling with, the tickets that you have to fix all the time, the travel that you have to do to certain locations because the networks are getting interference from Wi-Fi or whatever it is. Try to find things to improve on. And then when you write them down, you come to them with a strategy that says, look, I've noticed these are all a problem, and we estimate by fixing wireless issues that we might be able to continue doing inventory throughout the whole day instead of having to restart or whatever. There's efficiencies that would equal to dollars and money and travel and expenses and things like that that would show you to be a hero if you can come up with ways to fix those. But here's the other thing, right? There's a whole community out here. I drive community all the time, and I talk about it a lot because of this. Those are questions to also ask a community, right? Go to developer.cisco.com, understand, what you want to do, how you want to learn these things, but ask some of the folks on there, ask some of the folks on Twitter, LinkedIn, X and LinkedIn, and whatever platform you use, and ask how others are handling the things that you're looking to do. And repurpose, reuse, it's just like code, right? Repurpose and reuse to make it easier for yourself and what you're trying to accomplish by secretly, maybe not secretly, publicly telling everybody thank you for letting them use their code and ideas, right? Give back. Uh-oh, I lost you.
There are a lot of problems that have already been solved, and lots of really nice people have shared that either through code exchange or through their own personal GitHub repository. So ask away, like the community is there, and ask others if they have gone through the same thing that you have. It's the same, I think, in almost every technical field. We're going to switch gears a bit here because we've been talking a lot about career, but we want to know who Jason is. We want to know who the godfather of programmability is. And so, very quickly, before we go into that, you may see a QR code on the corner of the screen. It says win an ebook. That is not a lie, that you can actually win an ebook. That is our thank you for you coming here, asking your great questions. But you can also win one of Jason's books. So please scan that QR code. We will pick a random person at the end of this stream. If you're not here, we're going to announce it at the end of the stream. But if you're not here, that's okay. We will let you know. We will email you. But obviously, stick around for the stream, and you can have that winner announcement live. So, aside from tech, Jason, you said your hobbies are guitar and karate. Why those two? And do you like one more than the other?
Yeah, sort of. No, yeah, yeah. Why those two? I think, like 8 years old, and my parents enrolled me in Shotokan Karate outside of Elgin, Illinois, here where I grew up, and I got bullied a lot. Believe it or not, we lived in a pretty gnarly neighborhood outside of Chicago, and it was just rough times out there. And one of the things that my mom and dad thought would be to put me into karate, so I could defend myself, right? Um, there's a large side of me, which is probably why we're on this, right? That only a handful of folks really know, and that was that I didn't have the easiest life growing up. Um, and so I started in karate really young, and I remember we moved around a lot because we didn't have a lot of money, so we moved around a lot. Couldn't afford rent in certain places. Switched schools constantly my whole life, basically, until I was a teen. And it got to the point where the one thing that was, even though I was not at a class after we moved a couple times, right, I was still able to practice karate. It was something that I could take with me. So no matter what, I had a way of doing that. Of course, growing up on Steven Seagal movies and Van Damme and all these other great things. I got really good at fighting. Sometimes it wasn't a good thing, right? It's just it is what it is. But with that, I learned to temper myself quite a lot. And then karate, it was just I've always been a big music fan. You all know I'm a diehard Metallica fan, diehard Megadeth fan. A lot of metal music, but I love all music. And I started playing the guitar pretty much just right around the same time I started doing computers, because my best friend who got me into computers, Luke Kalin, shout out, to also got me into playing the guitar because his uncle had brought over a guitar one day. And we started messing with his guitar, and the first song I learned, I think, was Fade to Black by Metallica. So those two are my two favoriteest hobbies, I would say, but I do woodworking. I do yoga every single day. I love my yoga. I like going outdoors, like riding four-wheelers, do whatever kind of random crazy outdoor act you can do. I love doing it. Travel was a big thing for me, but that got stifled a little bit just because I've been traveling all over the place since I was young for work and stuff like that. And after a while, you're just like, when you're going somewhere and you don't have anybody to bring with, or you don't have anybody to share with, or you don't have something to do, the travel hobby dropped down a little bit. So I'm starting to get back into that and enjoy it now. We've been running around and doing some camping and some cool stuff to just try to get out and about. So I think I'm finding the love for that again. And driving, right? I used to love driving. I'd just be cruising, just love driving. And then all of a sudden it's like bumper to bumper every day for like 11 years. And you're like, I hate driving, So those are some of the hobbies. Obviously, I have two adorable children that my daughter's going to be 10 and my son just turned 6. And every moment I can spend time with them is fantastic. So that's become like a new hobby of mine, or an ongoing hobby of mine, right? Is spending as much time with the kids as I can. And yeah. And then I think every once in a while I get on Halo and murk a few people. I need to. Street Fighter, of course, Mortal Kombat, all the goodies.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I mean, that's who we are, right? We're people.
Sorry.
We have a wide range of no, I mean, we have a wide range of stuff. I would consider myself a generalist in a lot of things. So,
Yeah, generalist is
um,
fun.
yes, I like how you put that. Yes.
Yeah.
If, pulling on one of those threads, do you have an early memory of playing guitar or what drew you? So you shared that story, but what is your
Yeah.
earliest memory? Would that count as the earliest memory of playing
Um,
guitar for you?
well, the funny thing is, I had picked up guitars and I started playing on them. Even when I was younger than that, I just didn't know what I was doing. I knew I liked it, but I knew it was really hard for me to get my little arm over that big thing with the hole in it, and I just wasn't jiving on it. So I went towards electric guitar, where it just seemed much more cooler and metal. So I started going down that path. Probably when I was, I think I still lived in Elgin at a music shop. I was probably just about 8, 9 years old when walking in there and started picking around on guitars. And then we moved to a town called Sycamore, Illinois. And I started doing some guitar there at an old music shop. The guy's gone, but it was called Mr. G's Music. And I just started going in occasionally and picking on some things. And he'd let me in, even though I never had money to buy anything. Yeah, that's probably what drew me to playing, was just listening to music with my parents, I think. My dad owned a landscaping and snow plowing business when I was young, and I would lay in the back of the window of his truck and just listen to John Denver and Kenny Rogers and Lionel Richie and Eagles and all the greats. And I just was always fascinated with music, and here I am.
That is awesome. I think that is the answers the next question already. So was Fade to Black the first? That was the first song you learned,
Yeah,
right?
Fade to Black
Or
was the first song, hands down. And I think it's just because, Luke said, dude, check out this song. And he put on Metallica Fade to Black. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the best song in the world. And I needed to try to figure out how to play that. And that drew me to, like, I want to play that, specifically that. And then you start branching off a little bit and you realize that is played very similar to how another song they do called One. That's similar. Oh, and by the way, that's very similar to how Layla is played. Oh, whoa. Oh, and that's, and then next thing you know, one thing leads to another, and then Slayer. Anyway.
well, going down that, is there any song you still want to learn?
Whew. Inamorata is a new Metallica song off their latest album called 72 Seasons. It's like 12 minutes long. I think it's the longest Metallica song ever created. That's definitely one on my bucket list just because it just sounds so wicked. And, I got to give the Megadeth guys props because there's things that it's funny. It's like I love Metallica, diehard Metallica fan, play a lot of Metallica, love Megadeth, diehard Megadeth fan, do a lot of stuff with those guys as well. However, I can't seem to play the Megadeth stuff. It's just so technically. There's some of it that is just so technical that Mustaine does. It's just nuts. So, yeah, I think Holy Wars is probably one that I really need to get down for Megadeth. Yeah.
Add it to the list.
Add it to the list.
We actually have a question from the chat. It's asking, are you a rhythm or lead guitarist?
So I'm rhythm. I'm gonna say both now because a buddy of mine lives like 4 doors down, and he's been in a ton of different bands. His name is Bill Swick. He's super great. And he taught me how to solo and improvise about 2 years ago. And I'd never been, I would be able to play Kirk Hammett solos or listen to other music and then try to match and play along. And some of them I can hit, some of them I couldn't. And then he unlocked my brain into figuring out and understanding how you connect the fretboard. And there was just pieces that I was missing. So going back, I never really got lessons. So I was learning on my own, learning from tablature, reading different books. I was the production manager of a Metallica tribute band named Battery since 1998. I met these guys, and I'll be seeing them here soon. But I learned a lot of Metallica because they were my favorite band, and I started touring with this Metallica tribute band. It was endorsed by Metallica, right? So you can't get any more accurate than that, right? So I just started really just focusing on that, and then that started branching out. The drummer Lawrence was teaching me different songs, how to play drums, so I started picking that up, and I think that's where it kind of evolved. I would say rhythm first, but I'm really starting to enjoy doing the leads for sure.
Thanks for that question, Rodrigo. Do you play any other instruments?
Yeah, actually, funny enough, so I got in the other room. I wish I could. I was trying to join from my studio in the other room.
We'll probably have a follow-up episode
where I have all my guitars and stuff, but I couldn't get the video to pop up. So, but yeah, I actually I have the Lars drum kit in the other room, the full Lars drum kit, 4 toms across the top, 6 toms actually, 4 across the top, 2 on the floor, 24-inch kicks, full on Zildjian everything, and So I played the drums. I've been playing piano a little bit, and I think learning and unlocking the music theory for guitar has helped me with all the other instruments. If there's an instrument laying around, I will pick it up and do something with it. I'll make a noise. It might sound like a song. I might not know exactly what I'm doing, but I love playing different things. So a whole bunch of different stuff, absolutely.
That is awesome. I play piano myself, but I feel like I can't say that anymore because I haven't practiced in a really, really long time. And that's one of the things I'd like to get back into. So once I'm up to snuff, we're going to jam out.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, that'll be great. I mean, we'll do live in Vegas, dude. We'll do another Cisco Live Metal DevOps DevNet Jam session.
Oh, I need to start practicing then. Be ready. So with that, can you tell us more about the origin story of Metal DevOps, which is the YouTube show that you have started?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I've got a couple interviews I've got to edit and get up there. That's one of the hardest parts is I'm not a video editor, right? I mean, I can do it. You know, I've done it. I've done it for my courses. I've done it through internal for work. I've done it for Metal DevOps. But I need to get to the point where I can figure out how to offload some of that to folks who know how to do it. Hint, hint, anybody out there? So I can essentially just get more episodes going, right? That's the hardest part, is getting them out. Metal DevOps started with David Bombal. And the funny thing is, this was actually, let me step back. It started in Barcelona, I want to say 2018. Stuart Clark, our good friend, who we all love, Big Evil Beard, or my brother in metal, he was at the DevNet Zone, and Bombal came through to do an interview with me, and he put me on the spot. And one of the things he said, and in that interview, you can find it somewhere out there, he just got the microphone. He goes, yeah. So where can everybody find you? Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you have a blog? What do you got going on? And he puts the mic in my face. I'm like, I don't have a YouTube channel. I had a blog, but I had to, at the time, cancel it because the domain, I was getting smart. I thought it was going to be cool. And the domain was Cisco CCIE.expert. But I worked at Cisco. Well, I got a couple letters saying I can't own anything that says CCIE or Cisco in it. So I had a cease and desist and shut my blog down, which was all around service providers, CCIE and stuff like that. Because I helped write a lot of the route switch, I couldn't educate on route switch. So I did service provider, but then I had to shut it down anyway. And then I had to change my Twitter handle because it was CCIE 38759, and they said that I'm not allowed to do that anymore. So I changed it to Jason_Gooley. But so Bob asked me where my YouTube was, and I said I don't have one. And he said, "Oh, really? Well, if you did, what would it be?" And I'm just like, Metal DevOps. It just came out of literally. I reached back and found it and brought it out, right? Metal DevOps. And he's like, "Oh, that's awesome. What would it be?" And I'm like, "Be about community, bringing people together, metal music, technology, all the intersections, all this stuff." And he's like, "Oh, all right, we're very much looking forward to it." And I'm like, does that mean I have to do something?
Now you got to do it.
And I slowly started building it. And a buddy of mine, his name was Tom Hazard. He actually was one of the managers for the former bass player from Megadeth, David Ellefson. And I was working with him, and he's like, "Dude, I'll be your first guest." And he came on with David Ellefson from Megadeth, and that was the first episode. Was talking about how Megadeth was the band that had their first website of all bands. It was called MegadethArizona.com, and all of this stuff. That was how it first started. And then as the time went on, it was supposed to be like me and Stuart and some buddies jamming, talking about programmability and networking and stuff like that. And it turned into relationships with all these different bands and rock stars. And I've had so many people on the show. Jose Mengen from SiriusXM was on there as well. It's just incredible how it pivoted. But I got to try to keep up with that flow and get more of those people on there. So yeah, it's out there. It got a couple more episodes about to get dropped here pretty soon. I'm going back out with Megadeth, and August 3rd, I'll be doing some more stuff with them, VIP and all that other cool stuff. So hopefully maybe I'll be able to eke out a few more episodes. And then August 9th and 10th, Metallica, 10th and 11th actually. Metallica will be here in Chicago. So, I'm going to try to see if I can work any magic I have to try to get in there. Seth, that's for you, man. If I can get in there and do a little interview action, how massive would that be, right?
That would be neat. Yes. For anybody interested, I did link the Metal DevOps channel in the chat, so go check that out. As one thing, though, can we ask you for some networking mashups? Like, can you explain subnetting to the tune of Dragon Forces Through the Fire and Flames? Can we get that kind of stuff too on there?
Funny, Herman Lee was on the show. So Herman, the guitar
nice.
player from Dragon Force, was on Metal DevOps, and I interviewed him on the Megadeth cruise. So you got to check that out if you haven't.
I'm looking for that episode.
I don't know that I could even tune my guitar the way that they do. They're so fast. But that's actually a great idea. I have thought long and hard about doing certain things to a tune of other bands' music, and I think because it's considered parody, I think I could do it and not get in trouble. But I might validate that before I go launching off and doing anything crazy. But
I had to ask.
It's a great idea. There's actually a gentleman out there I just found on Instagram who raps about networking. Yeah,
What
I'll
is
find it.
their
I'll find that
name?
and I'll share it. I think his name is Christian. Maybe I'll find it and I'll send it out. Great,
That's so
great.
vague.
Yeah.
Like, oh, but that would be cool. No, I had to ask this because we had some other. They are parodies, but they're actually pretty good. I used to work for MongoDB, and they made one in the tune of Sia's one of Sia's songs with
Okay.
MongoDB, and then somebody wrote like your API is a hall of shame. Uh, y- and it's out there. If you are on that side of YouTube, you will get these recommendations. And so I figured, well, why not have some of these in networking? And why not ask you? They're the best person to
That's
ask.
a good idea. And you know what? I want to volunteer other folks to come in and jump on the show with me and do some
That would
songs.
be cool.
You know, I know Stuart's down. We've talked quite a few times. I he moved. I moved a little bit, so it's just I'm actually going to see him in October. I'm going out to England, so I'm going to be speaking at a university and then going to see him and some friends in England and London.
That's awesome. Well, we're down to have you, especially if it's just a rock session.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm down.
All right. I think we have your favorite band, which is Metallica. Do you have a
Yeah.
favorite song and favorite album?
Metallica, Fade to Black, Ride to Lightning. Same album, same band, song off of the same album. Only because I think that it's just been a kind of a testament to my life, you know. There are so many songs out there. I'm one of those music folks. So I'll sit you down and say, okay, you're gonna listen to this song, and stand there and watch you while you listen to the song to make sure you're getting the full effect of all the stuff that I'm feeling when I'm listening to that song, right? And it's really important to, I think, share music because music is a common language that everybody can understand. And even if you don't understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, you'll get the vibe of the song from the music itself, right? And I think that's something that we need to encourage more of, and the arts need to come back to STEM to make it STEAM a little bit more frequently. I think so.
I like it.
It
I
is
like it.
that for sure.
We're going to circle back around here. If you're willing to, can you share what belt you hold in karate?
Yeah, I am. I was called a dan, first dan in a black belt in Shotokan karate, and then I was on deck to get my second degree, but sadly ended up herniating a disc in my neck a couple years ago and had to stop. So now, it actually is funny. I got my black belt and I was going for my second degree, and then I was doing jujitsu at the same time, and then I hurt my neck, but not because of jujitsu. So because of that, I can't do any of the ground stuff. I have to be super careful and get my stuff back in order. And I worked out considerably, got my neck fixed up, and everything was going great. And I'm going to share with all you lovely folks here today that literally 3 weeks ago we got rear-ended, and I ended up on concussion and way more herniated discs and stuff in my neck than I'd ever imagined. Just 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and it's right now it's doing okay. But I also just got back from physical therapy an hour ago, and it's tough sometimes. So sitting a long time, typing, using the mouse, not so good right now, just burning pains and stuff. But so still doing karate. Going to continue doing that. Practicing a lot of that stuff. You know, it's fairly safe. And my daughter does karate with me. She's an orange belt, and my son wants to do it. So I'm just going to start teaching him, and just teach me and my family. And my sensei occasionally he pops over, which is kind of cool.
That's really awesome. I guess this final question in this still might make sense, but are there other types of martial arts that you would like to try?
Yeah, I really was I was having a lot of fun with jujitsu. Right?
Yeah.
We would travel around do jujitsu. I've got friends who were doing it, and it was just so much fun. I want to do more than that. And Krav Maga. Krav Maga just seems to be the most brutal, effective martial art. And then, of course, I mentioned Steven Seagal, so you can't say Steven Seagal and not say you want to learn Aikido or Hapkido, right? Aikido always seemed fascinating to me, just being able to move others without striking. I thought was pretty fascinating. Not that you don't want to strike,
right?
Let's use their momentum to flip them around, and then strike them. You know, when they're already incapacitated.
Fight smarter, not harder.
Yeah, fight smarter, not harder. automate that. Use AI.
Oh, geez. Yeah. I myself was always interested in capoeira because it looked so much more like dance rather than a martial art, with still having that power. But I'm not flexible at all. So that's
Give
not going to happen.
Go watch Only the Strong. Was it Mark DeCostios? I think it is. He's capoeira
Oh,
high school teacher teaching capoeira to disenfranchised kids who need
that
some
does sound
structure.
familiar.
It's old school. I think 80s or 90s movie.
Gotcha. All right, we are at the 20 question mark. We have 10 questions left, folks. So if you have any more, please, Jason is obviously very, very happy to answer them. Put them in the chat. And this is just your other reminder that we do have an ebook giveaway. So you see a little QR code on the corner of the screen there. That means you can win an ebook from Jason. So go ahead and scan that, and we will pick a random person and announce it at the end. Or if you don't happen to be here at the end, we will know and we'll be sad. But we will also just email you and let you know if you've won. So, all right, we're getting into the fun part, Jason. So, you ready
This
for
wasn't
this?
fun. I had a blast.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. We're getting into the, I guess, the life values and random questions is where we're at now.
Don't
So,
no, I was kidding. I was kidding.
we'll start out with an easy one. What does success mean to you?
Um, whew, uh, Originally, success was when I was 17 years old. I was going to get my CCIE. I was going to go work at Cisco one day. That was success at 17. And I had no plan to do anything else. That was exactly all in what I was going to do. And sitting here today, it's interesting because I did it, right? I did that. I overshot. I got 2 CCIAs, and then I kept going. I worked at Cisco for almost 11 years. July 8th would have been 11 years. I transitioned out of Cisco, focusing on the videos, focusing on the books, doing all this. And I realized that I need to come up with a whole new everything, right? For everybody on the call, everybody who wants to do something in this field, who wants to make something of themselves, or they want to, help others or achieve some goal, you have to have a goal. And I didn't know what my goal was for a while here, just because I was so heads down executing, going, and all of a sudden this trajectory just kind of started like going like this, and I had never expected it, anticipated it, or even at the time I don't think I even wanted it. I didn't even know it was an option, right? And then now I have to really think through what success looks like. So now to me, success is spending time with my family, right? Taking care of my health, and being happy. My mental health, number one, right? I realized quick on that was the most important thing in the world, right? You got to take care of yourself, secure your own oxygen mask, otherwise you won't be able to help anybody else. I've been down in the dumps. I've been up. You have this. Everybody goes through it. The other thing I would say success looks like for me now is helping all of you. This now, to me, is what I have to do, right? I have to keep taking over for Wendell. I have to keep with the CCNA. I have to help the people who are wanting to get started in any aspect of their career, whether it's starting with Cisco with CCNA or starting with, Cisco with CCST for IT support, or if it's just, I just want to know how to talk to people. How do I talk to people and do this? And the thing is, there's difficult pieces to all of these. I would say success is ultimately going to be, for me, making sure that other people are successful. It is kind of what is cemented what my success is making sure you're all successful. Because if not, if you don't look good, we don't look good. Vidal Sassoon, right? But if you don't pass the exams, or if you don't get inspired to take an exam or to do this as a career, then I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing anyway, right? So this is now helping you all is what success looks like to me. But making sure I'm okay in the process is the front runner there.
That's super important, and really glad that we all kind of come to that realization, hopefully. I think this segues really well into the next question, and you may have touched on it, but what is something that you are grateful for?
I'm going to start off. I'm going to have to say Cisco, and not just the logo, the company, the people, the culture, all that. I've started my whole career on Cisco, right? I started really getting into it with CCNA, and it paved my whole life, right? My whole career, everything that my kids get to enjoy, or you all get to do, is all because of something that had something to do with Cisco for me. When I say grateful, it's the people, culture, piece to it, right? And now at this point, being outside of Cisco, right, they're still providing for me, right? It's still something I absolutely love and cherish and love to do. But I think, other than the opportunity to do all the things that I was able to do, right, I'm grateful that the Lord has thought, for some reason, I am somebody who folks want to listen to on a camera, or who want to see, or who want to read, or want to learn from, or get excited to talk to, or passionate about, accomplishing something. I, for some reason, have become that person, and I'm not sure how. I'm not sure why. I'm still not sure why. I really am not sure why. But I am sure that I'm grateful for it. So, I think those things. Obviously, family is huge for me. I'm a big family thing. My two kids are the world to me, right? I got to make sure that they're taken care of, and they take care of me. And then the flip side of that is my wife, right? There would be no Godfather of nothing if it wasn't for for my wife, right? My wife is the one who has supported me through all these things. you know, and if it wasn't for her having my back, dude, I'd have been lost in some drudgery a long time ago, right? And that goes back to the whole mental health thing. I'm grateful to be out of some of the negative that I was in. There's still ups and downs that everybody goes through on a day-to-day life, but these are the things that we don't typically talk about, but it's important to talk about it, right? Not everybody's happy all the time, even though I can do this very well. Not always is it just stellar, right? And I think that comes with anybody who is going down. It's not just the career; it's anybody who is going down a path of pretty much service to help others. If you go down that path of service, it's the most honorable. It's the most noble of things to do. I love it. In any way, it could be a nurse, could be a doctor, could be a veterinarian, could be a network architect, could be whatever it may be, right? A music teacher. I think that is one of the most important pieces of all of this, is just sharing and being open. And I'm grateful that I have a community that held me up when I was going through a lot of rough times, and is still holding me up. So thank you all. I love you all. I appreciate everything you've done for me. And I'm grateful to be here.
I'm sure the DevNet community feels the same way. And be sure to tell your wife and your kids that. I'm sure you do, but it doesn't hurt to tell them one more time.
Absolutely.
Completely turning that around now. If you had not gone down this career path, what do you think you would have done instead?
Organized crime.
We're all being honest here. We're all friends here, right?
I'm detailed with things. I just would be. No, honestly, being realistic. I'm being flat out honest with you. If I didn't find tech, I'd be in a bad way, right? I was an idiot. Got kicked out of high school. Got my good enough diploma, and was on a really bad track, to be honest with you. And technology took me out of the ghetto and put me into a place where I can actually thrive and help folks, right? We had, like I said, we had no money, right? We grew up in a really poor neighborhood outside of Chicago, living on food stamps and free food. And this is stuff I don't share typically. So, but that's why I figured this is why we're on here, right? Food pantries, free food, the whole handouts, government cheese thing been done there. Black and white labeled peanut butter and cheese, the whole thing, right? evicted constantly because we couldn't afford the rent, changing schools constantly because we got evicted and couldn't stay in the same area. It wasn't good. I mean, it just frankly wasn't good. And if it wasn't for technology, I probably would have been in trouble or in jail. And I'm being honest, dude. I was not. I was smart, but smart and bad. And I was street smart instead of smart. And that changed a lot for me. It changed a lot. And here I am talking to you, which I still can't believe this is even happening, right? Knowing what I came from, where I came from, what I went through, how my life was structured, the folks who truly, really know me, there's a handful, and it's just one of those things, that I'm almost afraid to tell some of the stories of who I was, because I don't want to scare y'all away and have y'all not want to come back and talk to me no more, So I have to be smart about it, because I also represent, now I represent me in the community, but I still, even to this day, represent Cisco, and I have to be smart. If you hear a curse word come out, I apologize up front, but that's basically the biggest thing, is I have to make sure that I am politically perfect at all times, and it's stressful because that's not me.
Well,
right?
it is
Me,
very.
it's the guy who swears every other word, and I do really good at not doing it in front of my kids and my family, but it's hard because you got to be on point all the time, and if you let something slip in front of 800 people at a Cisco Live session that's live, you could be in trouble.
Well, that is why we're doing this, right? We get to know the people behind it, and this is who we are. And I admire that you are willing to share this. So thank you for sharing that. I'm sure everybody who has been watching your videos or reading your blogs or reading your books, they appreciate that you are a human behind the content that you are producing, and everything that you've done to help them. I'm sure they're very, very thankful to know that this is who you are. Um, Speaking of which, what is one thing you would like to change about the world, Jason? You're like, do we have enough time?
Cancel. I'm just kidding. No. All things aside, I'm not political. I don't. All this stuff. I don't engage in a lot of that stuff. But one of the things that I do think that we can change is some of the red tape on helping others. I'll give you a three-step thing that I'm just going to throw out real quick that could help quite a lot of people, right? I came up with this when I think I was like 15 or 16 years old. I thought about this. I do a lot of sleeping out for homelessness, right? There's this thing called the Covenant House International. Every November, with the Cisco group, we sleep outside and we raise money and awareness for homeless youth. And I do it every year. Gonna do it this year anyway. Still gonna do it. All right. One of the things that I think would be really beneficial is if all these hotels, right? You have all the major hotel chains. Roughly about every few years, they have to throw away all of their beds. They have to throw away all of their beds. Every day, every fast food chain throws away all of their food. Why? Because somebody either had allergic reaction to eating a wheat bun, or they took an Egg McMuffin or something and they put it somewhere that was too hot for them. Whatever the reason is, they hurt themselves or something, and some lawsuit came out of it. And if you just think about all the Spirit Halloween stores that are out there that pop up in all the broke down circuit cities and all the old school strip malls and all these empty giant buildings, if you were to just say, I don't know, take the beds, put them in the building, okay, take the food, put it in the building, take all the vets who are out there, who are, a lot of them are homeless, who know their way around security, safety, protocol, keeping other folks safe, and put them in there to manage and supervise and employ them and give them a step up. I think we could drastically turn around a lot with homelessness without really costing anything other than sign this paper saying you're not going to sue us because we gave you a sandwich, right? I know there's a lot of red tape and stuff like that. Overall, the one thing I want to change about the world is stopping folks from getting in the way of helping others somehow, especially if it's political. I hate it. Hate it.
I
Hate it.
couldn't agree with you more.
Hate it.
I could not agree.
Hate it. Want to run around like this, walking down just punching anybody who walks in my way. Drives me nuts.
Better watch out. He knows karate.
The wall.
I would watch out. That is great. No,
but it's one that drives me ballistic because
I feel you. There's so much food that is wasted. I didn't even know about the throwing of the beds, so that's another thing that makes me upset. But that is a good answer. Let's put it that way. All right, we're gonna do the last few questions here, possibly rapid, and let's go. Favorite city you've visited?
I really love Barcelona. I enjoyed going out there quite a lot with the Cisco Live folks. Outside of that, it would have to be Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. Probably Jerusalem. The old city was just absolutely nuts to see in person. Something that old and historic. I think that was kind of those are the two cities that I think abroad they were the coolest that I've been to.
Nice. Most interesting meal you've had?
Oh boy. I have to say it. Don't unfollow me. I was out in Melbourne with some friends at Cisco Live, and we went to this restaurant and they served kangaroo, and they served us this kangaroo, and it is definitely one of the most interesting meal I've ever had. I don't think I'd do it again. Honestly, realistically, it kind of tastes like beef, but it's a little bit more chewy, and it's kind of like deer. Deer tastes like beef, but it's a little chewy, so it's like, why just eat the beef instead, or not, right? But the reason that's such a funny story is a buddy of mine tweeted, out in Melbourne eating kangaroo or something to it, right? So I replied back to his tweet thinking I was going to be funny, and I said, if you haven't tried it, hop to it, The second I said that, instantly, right? The second I clicked that, there was this whole list of PETA videos of dragging kangaroos to their death and congratulations on joining all these people who hurt and terrorize innocent animals. And I'm like mortified, right? I'm mortified. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't mean it that way. Oh my gosh. So I deleted it. And by the grace of God, this is before Twitter changed the thing that when I deleted it, it deleted everything after it. So it took all that PETA stuff completely out of there. I felt so bad because I went vegan for 2 years, so I know what it's like. I know what it's like. But that was the story. They were just after me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I deleted it. Most interesting meal, most interesting way of announcing that meal.
That is an appropriate answer for this question. That is great. We're going to keep track. And if you haven't already, Jason Davis, you two would get along with your puns and dad jokes. And you guys should meet. So, favorite drink, boozy or not?
So not boozy. I haven't drank since 2018.
Okay.
I used to love it, but then I found out I'm allergic to brewer's yeast, barley.
Okay, well,
I'm like, that's gone.
That's gone, yeah.
But I feel great. Not drinking. Not boozy. There is a drink that I'm on that everybody thinks I'm nuts because it's just too expensive. It's like ridiculous. Like $34 for a 6-pack of these stinking cans of 16-ounce cans or whatever. But there's a company called Hop Tea, and they make hop infused sparkling chamomile tea. Sounds crazy, right? It's in a can, craft brewed thing, right? It literally tastes like an IPA because of the hops, but it's just chamomile tea, sparkling chamomile tea with hops in it. Oh, it's called the Calm One. If you look it up, trust me, buy it. It's incredible. That's my favorite. That has become my favorite drink.
Nice.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to keeping track of a list of all the guests, and we're gonna do an episode where I'm just gonna try all of these.
Somebody bring one and try it. Yeah.
Oh, or that.
Yeah.
All right. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I'm gonna go back and I'm a huge Batman fan, right? I love all the Batman, but I'm gonna have to probably say kind of like the super strength of Superman. And the reasoning might shock you a little bit, right? Superman, if he wanted to, could turn back time if he flew fast enough. Superman can house a lot of things on his shoulder, more so than any normal mortal human. Superman helps people, and he's the strongest person of helping people. I think it would be that, because I think I could do a lot more to help a lot of people if I could figure out how to scale and not burn myself out so much. That would be it.
That's a good superpower to have. I mean, some days I'm just like, that's all I need, you know. I don't need to fly. I don't need to do this. I just need to be
I just
strong.
got to look through the wall to see if I turn the coffee pot on.
Pretty much. All right. Penultimate question. If you were an animal, which would you be?
If I was an animal. Oh my Lord.
And don't say kangaroo.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't want it to be a kangaroo, that's for sure. I gotta hop out of here. I think I'm going to say a tiger.
Okay.
I think I'm going to say a tiger, and the only reason is, you know, I'm infatuated with Japanese martial arts, as you imagine, right? There's some components to that from all different cultures, but the tiger is super freaking strong. I love cats. They're fast. They don't take anything from anybody. And I got to hold a little one when I was younger. I got to hold a baby little tiger. I pet this Siberian white tiger. It was super cute. I would say a tiger, because they just kind of, I like the lounging aspect. I'm just going to sit in a tree for a little while and relax. And if you mess with me, I'm going to eat your face off. So probably a tiger.
Nice answer. And the last question, folks. This is your last chance. Scan that ebook QR code if you want a chance to win. We will be selecting a random person at the end here. Jason, the Godfather of Programmability. Do you have a life motto? If not, any last words for our viewers?
I do. I found a quote. I mean, when I was young, I mean, I had to be. It was my mantra. It still is my mantra. I don't even know if it's around here or not. I have it usually hanging up somewhere. It's somewhere. I just haven't hung it up yet. It is, if you can take any advice and any one quote that you could take to heart no matter what and take it with you throughout all of life, it's this. The reason that most people fail instead of succeed is that they trade what they want the most for what they want at the moment. That is powerful. I can't because I have to study. I can't because I have to do this, right? Well, but I could just go outside, and you trade what you want the most for what you want at the moment. And that is words that I've lived by for my entire career.
I'm going to also have a collection of really great quotes from this show, but I really like that one. That's like the instant gratification. You're choosing that over really the long-term goal that you want, the one thing that would truly make you happier and make you feel more self-confident because you've achieved that goal. I really, really like that quote. Thank you. That's a good life motto to have.
Yeah.
All right, we are at the end. We are going to have AI select the final winner here. So let's do that. While we are doing that, we actually had a couple more questions, Jason, if you don't mind answering from the chat.
Yeah.
So while we select the winner, let's do those questions. So this was from previously, from someone coming from a traditional routing and switching background. What is your advice if one wants to take on the DevNet Associate exam? Can I go straight in, or do Linux, Python, and cloud come first?
Go right in. Go for it right now. And here's why. DevNet Associates 80-20, 80% network programmability fundamentals, 20% networking fundamentals. Flip of that is CCNA, or 80% networking fundamentals, 20% programmability fundamentals. Give or take. Now, there's automation and some other pieces in there, so the numbers might slip a little bit. Majority fundamentals of networking. So if you have traditional routing and switching, you don't have to come up with that much to make the case, right? And I think if you go through the DevNet website, go through the labs, definitely read the book. Spend some time with it, and I think you'll be okay, because in there you'll learn some Python, you'll learn the Linux pieces, you'll learn the relevancy of cloud APIs and all that in the book. in the program, in the classes. Don't make yourself have to go so far out of the way to accomplish what it is you're trying to accomplish, because now we have the means to, like I said, level set and have everybody start at a similar spot. And the stuff that's out there for DevNet Associate on DevNet's website and the book are second to none. Chris Jackson has an amazing course on O'Reilly as well for DevNet Associate. I highly recommend checking that out too. But yeah, go straight in. You can do it for sure.
Sweet. And we have one other question here. Randy, have you reviewed Javier Antique's Machine Learning for Network and Cloud Engineers? Get ready for the next era of network automation. Do you have videos on this topic?
I have not reviewed it. I've heard of it. So do I have any videos? So on automation, I don't personally, this is kind of funny, I don't have any self-published anything on automation. I've done some work, obviously, with Cisco, internally done a lot of training. Cisco Live, I don't know if I have, I think I have a couple DevNet sessions that are written there for intro to programmability, some lightning talks and stuff like that. But that is one thing that I'm actually working on trying to do, not only with the DevNet team, but also learning at Cisco, is to figure out how do we make like just a quick 4-hour, this is how you do it, and this is the thing that I get asked quite a lot about. But so there may be something coming in that as well. And then now, being a free agent, I've had a lot of different companies and businesses ask me to come in and just do pretty much like a workshop directly with their team for certification related topics or whatever it may be. So I've been doing some of that lately too, which is really nice, and then talking to a lot of different colleges too in their network academies. So more to come on that, but I would say at least start off with Chris Jackson's video course for DevNet Associate, because that'll get you really good on O'Reilly.
Sweet. All right. I think we have a winner chosen. First of all, thank you so much, Jason, for spending this time with us. I certainly learned a lot more about you. I got a really awesome tea to try, and I have a life motto to add on to my set of life mottos, because that's a really good quote. But we now have the winner for the book. So let's see. The winner is Josh Morgan.
Awesome.
Congratulations, Josh. We will email you with the email that you've put into the form. Thank you so much for participating, and I hope you choose wisely. There's a whole array of books in Cisco Press for you to choose from. Ideally, something from Jason's catalog, probably.
I can sure use the money.
There you go. Congrats, Josh. We will get with you and let you know how to use that.
Awesome.
All right, so let me take this out here. So again, thank you so much, Jason. It was really fun hanging out with you. We have to do a follow-up episode where we get it running in your guitar room so we can see everything. And yes, just thank you so much. Thank you for being episode number 2 on Tracer Out Tales.
Thank you for having me. Thank you all. If anybody needs anything, please reach out to me. Jason_Gooley on pretty much everything, and I want to hear from you.
Sweet.
You too, Verlaine and Gus.
Yes. Maybe they'll be here soon. Very, very soon.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you